Hello there, my RPG lovers, and welcome to another video. Outward 2 is supposed to come out in summer of 2026. It's going to be in early access for at least 6 months, according to the CEO of 9 Dot Studio. I was lucky enough to get a chance to play the first demo in 2024, and now we have the second demo that's currently only available for media and content creators. The first demo was set in a very isolated place on the map. It was more like a small dungeon than anything else. The second demo features a full-blown map and a new starting zone, brand new character creation system along with all the RPG features on top of it, main quest, new gameplay features, and so on. Unlike the first demo, which actually felt like a demo, this demo feels like an actual game, if that makes sense. It's definitely not perfect and it requires some more polish, but this map in the game is probably very close to being completed. At least that's how it feels to me. I'm pretty sure that everything you'll be able to see here will be available in the first early access version of the game, because that would make sense. I assume the early access version is going to be very similar to this experience, but they will have a lot more development time until then, so it will probably be way more polished. Anyway, we're going to talk a little bit about everything in this video. I still didn't complete everything that you can do in this demo because it's way bigger than I thought. But I invested almost 10 hours into it so far and I have a good grasp of all the features and mechanics. Not to mention that most of these features are very similar to the first game. Now let's go to the beginning and start talking about the character creation system and the new starting zone. Outward 2 will feature a much better character creation system than the first game. Now you get to make some pretty important decisions when creating your character, which will affect your starting build and some dialogue options. These 5 options you select will increase or reduce some of your stats, like the strength, willpower, constitution, agility, and so on. They also give you a small backstory for your character, which allows you to roleplay a little bit in some dialogue with NPCs. Come to think of it, this reminds me of how Mount & Blade 2 works when you're creating a character. It's very similar to that game. More importantly, I think this is a great new feature that makes the sequel feel more like a proper RPG. Speaking of which, the new character creation system is leagues better than the first game. I mean, the first game has set a very low bar when it comes to that, because no matter what you select, you will play as a potato head. This time around, we got some proper customization options for our character. I'm not sure if this is the final version of the character creation system, but even if it was, I would be happy with it. It has just enough options to make a unique looking character, but it's not crazy like in some other RPGs, like Dragon's Dogma 2 for example. You get to choose a body presets, eyes, nose, hair and facial hair, makeup options, scars, tattoos, and so on. It's pretty decent, I would say, but then again, it's nothing crazy. When you're done with all of this, you get to name your character and start the game. I have some complaints about the character customization system though. Why the hell I can't select any full beards with mustache? It doesn't make any sense to me. I think beards without mustache look weird. Even so, I'm really glad to see some actual facial hair in Outward because the first game didn't have that at all. There is an introduction cutscene now, which shows you the city of Haboob. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention that. Outward 2 will feature multiple starting zones that you can choose, but this demo only allows you to start in Haboob. I mean, that's a great choice because I would start here anyway. Haboob. The beginning is very similar to Outward 1 because once again you start in your own house and once again you lose it very fast. But before that you're free to explore the city, loot some items, talk with NPCs or even learn new abilities. Yeah, I totally missed that with my first character, but then again I didn't even get to use these abilities yet. That's because they require mana and I still didn't unlock it. I assume this is going to work similar like in Outward 1, where you had to find a place called Leyline and unlock it by sacrificing some of your health or stamina. By the way, I doubt we're going to be able to learn skills like in this demo, because you just automatically get them all by selecting a dialogue line. That's probably only for the purposes of this demo to make things easier. I'll continue playing and probably make a separate video about this. The city has some stores with merchants where you can buy various items, even though you start off broke. However, some items were free or very cheap, and again, I think it's for the purposes of the demo. I also noticed that some stores at night will close down, so you won't be able to interact with NPCs until the morning. It's like a simple NPC schedule system, but it only works with some NPCs. This time around we have some proper in-game cutscenes, which is definitely new. This particular cutscene plays when you go to sleep, and after this everything changes for a character. You get framed for the murder, and you get banished from the city, and your main quest is to prove your innocence. You have to survive for a month outside the walls of Habub, and you also have to track down the man that framed you. Right outside the city, you'll meet one of the returning characters from Outward 1. Oliel is back, and she will give you some advice for surviving, as well as some useful items like the map and a tent. The thing is, I completely missed her with my first character, because I was so excited to start exploring the map, and I wandered off in a random direction. I only noticed her with my second character, and I felt really dumb after that. It's pretty cool to see returning characters from the first game, and I assume she won't be the only one. She also looks way older in the sequel, at least judging by her grey hair. Anyway, you're pretty much free to explore the map however you want from this point on. However, some parts of the map are easier than others, which I figured out after I made another character. But no matter which path you choose, you're going to struggle a little bit in the beginning. If you're not familiar with Outward, it has some survival features that you have to keep in check, but these features are not very punishing. Outward 2 is going to continue in the same manner. You'll have to eat, drink, sleep, and occasionally cure some status effects. As soon as you step outside of the city, you get to fight a troglodyte, a well-known enemy type from the first game. The combat system in Outward 2 might look very similar to the first game, that's because it is. However, there are some massive improvements here on the fundamental level. I talked about this in my video about the first demo as well, and the second demo only confirms it. Outward 2 has a very responsive control scheme, which is not something we could say about the first game. Controlling your character in the sequel feels way more responsive, which makes the combat a lot more fluid. It's a huge deal, especially if you just couldn't get into the first game because of the way it controls. The gameplay is still a little bit janky, but the updated controls are such a welcoming change. So what about the combat itself? Well, I'm glad you asked. I tried using a lot of different weapon types so I can feature them in the video. My first character was mostly using a two-handed sword, while my second character used a lot more weapons. Pretty much all weapon types have two basic, two strong attacks and a running attack. But this will also depend on what you're currently using as your weapon or weapons. For example, I was dual wielding an axe and a dagger with my second character. And when that's the case, you have one button for the main hand weapon attack and the second button for the offhand attack. I played the demo with my Xbox controller, by the way, which works great. You can still hold these buttons for a strong attack, which has a unique animation. The situation changes if you have a shield, which also has unique moves. In the first game, you will have to learn similar combat moves from trainers as abilities. Outward 2 includes them by default, which improves the melee combat quite a bit from the very beginning. Two-handed sword has a couple of cool strong attacks, which I found very useful. I also love how one-handed axe works, with a little jumping attack. These attacks are the reason why all weapon types feel different to use, but it's yet to be seen what ends up being the most useful. I think the jumping attack with the axe was very useful for me, especially because of the great range. But there's a lot more experimentation to be done with all of these weapon types until I can talk more in depth about them. These attacks are not the same like in Outward 1, by the way. We have brand new animations, obviously. What seems to be exactly the same like in the first game is the stealth system, which seems almost identical. I really hope they add some more features for the stealth gameplay and improve it a little bit. It was very basic in the first game, and it seems it's going to be very basic in the sequel as well, until they add more features to it. I fought a lot of different enemy types in this demo, although I couldn't beat all of them. But it's good to know that you can take the advantage of enemies fighting between themselves, which happens quite a bit, or just simply lure enemies towards friendly NPCs, like these ash giants. As far as I could tell, most of these enemy types are brand new. If you played the first game, you'll definitely remember these birds. I tried killing as many as I could to get the mask, but I had no luck. Although I had no idea if the mask is even in the sequel, but I had to try. The mask I'm talking about would give you 15% movement speed in the first game, which was pretty damn cool, but it was a rare drop. Anyway, you can avoid a lot of fights if you want to, and you absolutely should, because you can get destroyed by some of the stronger enemies. That didn't stop me from at least trying to fight them, but Outward is all about getting new gear and preparing yourself before even trying to fight stronger enemies. I also tried the bow a little bit, which feels somewhat better than the range gameplay in the first game. What's not so better are the sound effects, which are probably just placeholders. At least I hope there are placeholders, because the combat sound effects are pretty bad, which was the case in the first game as well. Come to think of it, I think they're pretty much the same like in the first demo, and I really hope they have much better sound effects for the full game. That would substantially improve the feeling of the combat, if you ask me. While I did like all of these new enemy types, some of them require a bit more polishing when it comes to combat animations. For example, this bird creature, or whatever it is, has a very powerful dash attack, which is very hard to dodge, mostly because of the poorly telegraphed animation. Then again, all of this could change and improve, and it probably will, but I can only comment on what I see. It seems like your default stamina value is more forgiving when it comes to dodging and sprinting, but I'm not sure if this is going to be the same in the full game. Maybe it's yet another one of those features to make the demo feel easier, but I certainly hope this is the case in the full game as well, because it feels so much better. It makes moving your character around more enjoyable, without constantly worrying about your stamina. And combined with the updated control scheme, I think the sequel has the potential to be way more enjoyable to play by default. Your stamina, as well as your health and mana, are still going to get negative effects, but it feels a bit less annoying this time around. You're slowly losing your max stamina the more you stay awake, just like in the first game. That being said, even though you can die easily in this game just like in Outward 1, it never felt very punishing to me. The reason why Outward never felt very punishing is because how it handles deaths. When you die, it's not game over, and you don't actually die. The game has various defeat scenarios, and this depends on how you died, who killed you, and the location you were in. You can even get saved by some group of friendly people, and this was actually one of the most effective ways of traveling to where you need to go, at least in Outward 1. It happened a couple of times in this Outward 2 demo as well. I spawned in a friendly place or a camp, which I was trying to reach anyway. I remember dying a lot on purpose in the first game just to get to some main cities. I mean, sure, it can be risky if you don't get the scenario you need, but it was worth the risk in most cases. The demo features a lot of these different scenarios, although some of them require more polishing. I was basically getting spawn camped by the same enemy that killed me, or multiple enemies at once. Yeah, that's really fun. Then again, something like this is expected in the current version of the game, it's not going to be perfect. I also noticed some old scenarios, like the legendary Gap. That was one of the best defeat scenarios you could get in the first game. That's because you spawn with full HP and stamina and some useful potions. Well, it seems like Gap is back and he gets to save our ass once again. What's also worth mentioning is that enemies won't regenerate health upon your deaths, so you'll be able to finish them off a lot easier if you choose to fight them again. Yeah, like I said, I never thought dying is very frustrating in Outward, because it's never the end, unless you're playing hardcore. The main thing which could make deaths very frustrating is when you lose your backpack. Carrying a backpack is a huge feature in Outward games, and there are various backpacks to get, buy, or craft. Outward 2 is no different. You start with a simple backpack that doesn't affect your dodging speed, but you can also get a much bigger backpack that does, in exchange for a lot more carry weight. I played with both for a while, and they work pretty much the same like in the first game. You can drop them on the floor before the fight if needed, and you can also lose them sometimes upon death. But I never lost them for a long time when I died, and it was always very close to me, or with me, from the moment I respawned. Maybe I managed to avoid some more punishing defeat scenarios, but the sequel seems to be a bit less frustrating when it comes to retrieving your backpack. As for the exploration in this zone, I would say it's pretty damn good. It's unlike any map from Outward 1, as far as I can remember. It has quite a bit of vertical exploration, and it feels much more dense compared to the maps from the first game. It's very open, and you have several paths to take when you leave Haboob. It's also way bigger than I thought, that's for sure. There are several different biomes within this map, and some decent visual variety. I explored some caves, camps, and a lot of dangerous open areas. The caves have that recognizable outward design, and they are interesting to explore. This dungeon was pretty cool, although I couldn't stay here for long because I'm pretty weak. I found this giant camp as well, which is one of the few friendly places you can visit. The main quest is still active for me, and I still didn't find the guy who framed me, but I'm getting there. Like I said before, you can get the in-game map if you talk with Oliel, and just like in the first game, you can't see yourself on the map. You can't even see your position, by the way, and I know some people won't like that, but that's how Outward 1 worked as well. Although you could easily download a mod on PC to change that, if you wanted. I'm having a lot of fun exploring this zone, and I'll continue playing until I see everything this demo has to offer. I'll probably have another video about it, or even a stream, so stick around for that. There is an upcoming playtest for Outward 2, and I assume you'll be able to experience everything I described in this demo. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe for more content like this. And if you want to go a step further, consider supporting your boy by becoming a YouTube channel member or a Patreon. Huge thanks to all my current supporters, and I'll see ya in the next one.